Imagine a world where Batman doesn't have a single cent to his name, Superman has no family on Earth to teach him kindness, and Wonder Woman was raised in hell itself instead of the paradise island of the Amazons. This isn't just a hypothetical scenario or some basic dark multiverse story. This is the official new storyline from DC, Absolute DC, a place where Darkseid has rewritten the very laws of creation, forcing heroes to be born into the darkest, most brutal reality imaginable right from day one. But how can Batman survive against his enemies without wealth and tech, using nothing but a giant axe? What if Superman never actually became Clark Kent? And why on earth did DC decide to turn its entire universe into this absolute nightmare? Hey guys, welcome back to Comic Station. Today, we're diving into the most brutal and exciting universe in comic book history. To really understand what the Absolute Universe is all about, you first have to completely throw out everything you've learned about DC and its heroes over the years. In the main DC universe, or Prime Earth, there was always a cozy, set formula. The heroes always had something to fall back on. Batman had endless wealth, a fully equipped cave, and a wise butler in his corner. Superman had the pure love of a farm family who taught him humanity, and Wonder Woman was backed by the Olympian gods, growing up on a paradise island. They became heroes with all the best resources at their fingertips. But have you ever asked yourselves, what if that entire ladder of success was brutally pulled out from under them? It all kicked off with the massive, game-changing event, DC All In. DC decided to make a crazy move, but the question is, why spawn the Absolute timeline out of nowhere, right in the middle of a stable universe? What were the creators going after? It all boils down to one thing: feeding off the darkest layers of existence. But to see how this entire plan went down, we have to go back to Ground Zero, the huge, game-changing event that is DC All In. A lot of people thought DC was doing another full universe reboot to rewrite everything from scratch, but they were dead wrong. With All In, DC pulled off a super smart double play. On one side, the main storyline of our classic heroes on Prime Earth kept rolling forward. But on the other, a dark portal swung wide open to a completely parallel reality, a world known as the Absolute Universe. So what actually kicked off this whole event? It all started in the standalone comic DC All In Special Number 1. In this issue, we're hit with an unprecedented cosmic crisis. The Justice League, which had just been rebuilt with a brand new setup to safeguard the entire multiverse, is suddenly blindsided by a threat nobody saw coming: a far angrier, mutated return of Darkseid. But this time, Darkseid wasn't out to conquer Earth or move planets around. He realized that the fundamental energy of the multiverse was shifting. Darkseid managed to tap into a terrifying, unknown power source called alpha energy. With this power, he didn't just escape the Justice League, he ripped open a literal dimensional rift in the fabric of creation. Darkseid stepped into that rift, sacrificed his physical body, and forged a brand new universe built entirely on his own twisted essence. The All In event is basically the story of this terrifying collision, the exact moment the main Justice League realizes a dark mirror universe has taken shape right beside them, a world where alternative versions of themselves are fighting for survival in a hellhole created by Darkseid. But wait, how on earth can a massive, fully formed universe exist on pure rage without instantly tearing itself apart? What kind of terrifying force is powering this system to bend the very fabric of reality and turn this nightmare into a reality? I mean, doesn't the multiverse structure prohibit a cheat code this huge? The answer to that is 100 times scarier than you think. It all goes back to the god of evil himself, Darkseid. But hold on a second. How did Darkseid manage to pull off something that even DC's most powerful sorcerers, gods, and cosmic beings couldn't do? Hasn't Darkseid been losing to the Justice League for years? Haven't they thrown him to the edge of the galaxy time and time again? What changed? What made it possible for Darkseid to play the entire structure of creation like a game and pull out a winning hand this time? You think Darkseid just blew up a planet or sent an army of parademons? Not even close. He went straight for the foundational layer of existence, the very energy of creation itself. How Darkseid injected his very essence like poison into the veins of this world, forcing these heroes into the absolute worst, most brutal, and most tragic circumstances right from the moment they were born, is the dirty secret that turns the absolute universe into a ticking time bomb. Are you still wondering how this dark deal went down and how Darkseid managed to bypass every rule in the DC universe? To really grasp the scale of this disaster, you have to look at what Darkseid actually did to the laws of reality itself. In the entire history of DC, whenever a supervillain wanted to change the world, they'd mess around with cosmic bombs or fiddle with time streams. But Darkseid realized that to defeat the heroes, he didn't need to fight them head-on. He had to destroy the very soil they grow in. He reached right into the core of the multiverse's soul and struck a dark bargain. Darkseid injected his very essence, pure rage and absolute malice, straight into the veins of this new reality. And the result? A brutal new rule was born. In the absolute universe, the heroes are always the underdogs, while the system and all the wealth belong to the villains. Think about it for a second. In the regular universe, villains had to hide in the shadows so Batman or Superman wouldn't catch them, right? But in the absolute universe, everything is flipped on its head. All the wealth, all the political power, all the military systems and cutting-edge tech are in the hands of the most ruthless villains and secret organizations. They are the actual rulers of this world. Instead, who are our heroes? The working class, the homeless, the lonely outcasts who have no money, no backup, and zero hope. They have to fight tooth and nail just to survive amidst the ruins the villains built. But here's the crazy question. If everything is this upside down and pitch black, why don't these heroes just crumble under all this pressure? How can a Batman with nothing keep pushing forward? What makes a Superman who never had a family still wants to protect everyone else? Was torturing these heroes Darkseid's ultimate plan? Or is there something bigger at play here that even Darkseid doesn't see coming? Something he's going to pay a heavy price for?
To answer that, we gotta look at the very first and weirdest masterpiece of this world, a place where the Batman cowl changes meaning forever. If you've been enjoying the video so far, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out when I drop the full breakdown for each hero in this universe. Forget the Dark Knight of Gotham with all that cash, high-rise penthouses, and a fleet of billion-dollar gadgets. It's time to dive into the absolute weirdest, heaviest, and most brutal hero of this world, Absolute Batman. We all know the deal in the main DC universe. Bruce Wayne was the son of one of the richest families on Earth who, after the Crime Alley tragedy, dedicated his life to fighting crime and became the shadow every villain feared. But in the absolute universe, it's a completely different story. The very first question everyone had was, if Bruce Wayne isn't rich, how on earth can he even become Batman? DC's insane answer? Bruce Wayne in the absolute universe is a hardworking, blue-collar guy. His father wasn't a famous surgeon. He was a teacher and just a regular dude. Bruce has no fortune here, no high-rises, not even a Batcave or secret hideout. He grew up right in the impoverished neighborhoods under the crushing weight of poverty. But that's not even the half of it. What if the tragedy of his father's death went down under totally different circumstances? In this world, Bruce's dad died in a public mass shooting, a tragedy Bruce witnessed with his own eyes, scarring his soul forever. But instead of traveling the world to train under ninja martial arts masters, how did Bruce build this giant, terrifying frame? He dove into hard manual labor, construction engineering, and working-class jobs. Bruce knows every single nook and cranny of Gotham like the back of his hand because he literally built the city's infrastructure with his own 2 hands. On top of that, Bruce's mother was actually a member of the Court of Owls before meeting Thomas, though she eventually broke away from them to walk her own path. The mind-blowing question is this: when Bruce Wayne is just an everyday worker, how did he manage to build this heavy-duty armor and these rough, devastating gadgets? And most importantly, who is Alfred Pennyworth in this world? Is Alfred still that loyal, caring butler? If you thought changing Bruce Wayne himself was the crazy part, you are dead wrong. Because when you look at the people around Bruce, the real freshness of this universe will blow your mind. In the Absolute Universe, Alfred is no butler, and he couldn't care less about pressing suits. Alfred here is an elite, ruthless ex-intelligence assassin with a massive build who tears through the streets of Gotham on a motorcycle, causing absolute chaos. I'll definitely dive way deeper into each of these characters in the dedicated breakdown videos for this universe, so stay tuned. But the nightmare of Gotham doesn't end with Alfred. What on earth happened to Batman's classic villains? In the regular universe, the villains were always one step behind Batman, forced to hide in the shadows. But remember when we said that in the Absolute Universe, the system belongs to the villains? Here, the Joker is a ridiculously wealthy, powerful billionaire owning massive corporate empires and the mob. Joker holds all the wealth and influence that Bruce Wayne had in the main universe. Now, you might be asking, what about that monstrous side of Joker then?
Don't worry, I'll cover all of that in detail in the dedicated Absolute Joker video. And what about the rest of the villains, like Bane? Bane in this world isn't just some local wrestler or gang leader. He's been turned into an unstoppable, ruthless military giant. It's honestly a mystery how Bruce is even supposed to survive against his massive physique and an entire army. Absolute Batman is the ultimate fight of a lonely, penniless man against a corrupt, ultra-rich system. But while Batman is forced to fight tooth and nail in Gotham, what's happening to DC's golden hero on the other side of the world? In the main universe, we all know Superman's story by heart. A rocket carrying a baby launches from a dying Krypton, lands in a peaceful green Kansas farm, and Clark Kent grows up surrounded by the love and moral guidance of Ma and Pa Kent. That farm and that love turns Superman into the kindest being in existence. But what if Darkseid ripped that sweet foundation out by the roots? In the Absolute Universe, there is no Kansas farm. There is no Jonathan or Martha Kent. And craziest of all, Clark Kent never landed on Earth as a baby. The real mystery starts right here. How did Clark even get to Earth then? The Superman of the Absolute Universe was already a young adult when Krypton exploded. He witnessed the bitter moments, the fires, and the complete annihilation of his race and planet with his own eyes. By the time he reaches Earth, he's no innocent child. He's a lonely, grieving, displaced refugee, carrying the heavy burden of his lost world on his shoulders. Now think about this. How does a being with cosmic powers, who had no earthly family to teach him love and patience, fit into human society? Not only does he have nowhere to hide, but he doesn't even have a fortress of solitude to find peace. If you thought Superman's isolation was the darkest part of this story, let's dive into the answers to these insane questions, because the reality of his life in the Absolute Universe gets even darker. First off, when there's no Clark Kent, the reporter, how does this Superman live among humans? The answer is that he's literally an underground refugee and an anonymous miner. Instead of sharp suits, Kal-El wears worn-out work clothes, grinding away in deep underground mines and caverns, doing brutal labor just to scrape together a bit of cash and stay under the radar of security agencies. He has no home. His entire life is packed into a single backpack under the open sky. Now, for the next question. With all this pain and loneliness, why didn't Kal-El grow to hate humanity? Why does he still want to save them? Because he witnessed the total annihilation of his planet's working class and everyday people with his own eyes. On Absolute Krypton, the ultra-wealthy elites drove the planet to destruction, while the regular folks suffered to the very end. When Superman landed on Earth, he saw the exact same oppression and inequality happening to vulnerable humans. He didn't end up hating people because he views himself as part of that very same oppressed, struggling class.
Absolute Superman is a fighter who lacks the comforting smile of the classic hero and has zero hesitation when it comes to punishing oppressors. He's a furious, wrathful wanderer who wields a massive scythe and a living cape, ready to rip justice for the weak right out of the throats of people like Lex Luthor. Now it's time to talk about the Amazonian princess. In the main DC universe, Diana is the daughter of Queen Hippolyta, the princess of the mythical Paradise Island of Themyscira. She grew up in peace, gifted items like the lasso of truth and sacred armor by the Olympian gods to serve as an ambassador of peace to the world of man. Well, prepare to have your mind completely blown. In this universe, Themyscira doesn't even exist. Diana is the last Amazon left on Earth because the rest of her people were wiped out in a horrific genocide before she was even born. So where did Diana grow up? Instead of a lush Paradise Island, she was raised in the deepest, darkest pits of hell itself, brought up by demons and the most powerful dark sorcerers. Just think about that for a second. How can a princess raised on suffering, blood, and dark magic become a hero? Here's the deal. Unlike her previous iterations, Diana isn't patient or cautious at all. She is a barbaric, rebellious, ruthless warrior with a wild, untamable spirit. Just look at her gear. Instead of a glowing lasso of truth, she lugs around a massive, heavy, berserk-style giant sword forged from hellish metals that can slice right through enemy souls. Instead of divine Olympian magic, she uses pentagrams and dark spells to summon monsters and boost her attacks. Even her mount isn't a regular unicorn or a winged Pegasus. It's a terrifying pitch-black mythical beast straight out of the depths of hell. But the main question keeping every comic reader up at night is this. When a woman with demonic powers and a hellish upbringing enters the world of men, how does she end up teaming up with Batman and Superman? What makes Wonder Woman choose to raise her hell sword to protect defenseless humans instead of becoming a ruler of darkness? The answers to those questions are the exact moment the true soul of absolute Wonder Woman is revealed. Why didn't Diana become a ruler of darkness, despite being raised in hell, choosing instead to defend the oppressed? Because deep down in hell, Diana felt a horrific truth in her very core, the bitter taste of being tortured and defenseless at the hands of tyrants. She saw firsthand how demons and dark entities tortured weaker beings. Instead of adopting the nature of those demons, Diana developed a deep-seated hatred for oppression and bullies. When she stepped into the world of men, she saw oppressors like Lex Luthor and Gotham's villains crushing regular, defenseless people just like the demons of hell. So Diana decided to aim her hellish weapons straight at the oppressors themselves. But how does she cross paths with Batman and Superman? The bond of this holy trinity in the absolute universe isn't built on wealth or prearranged alliances. It's forged in shared pain and suffering. When Diana meets a Batman fighting for the working class with a steel axe, and sees a Superman who's a lonely refugee, yet still has a heart beating for humanity, she realizes all three of them are victims of the same corrupt, filthy system. They don't need formal meetings in the Pentagon or fancy skyscrapers. Their shared pain and common enemies link them together like an unbreakable chain. Diana didn't reject the rage and dark magic of hell. She harnessed it, turning it into a shield for those who have zero shelter in this cruel world. And that brings us to the final wrap-up, where we realize just how much deeper Darkseid's plan goes beyond these three main heroes, and what shocking future awaits the absolute universe and the entire multiverse. We saw how DC's core trinity was born in the darkest way possible, but did you think Darkseid only targeted these three? Not a chance. We also have to look at the other major heroes of this world, like Absolute Flash and Absolute Green Lantern. In the main universe, Flash is connected to the Speed Force, and the Green Lanterns are the most powerful cosmic force, armed with rings of willpower. But in the absolute universe, what if the Flash's speed stems from a painful, uncontrolled lab disaster that is slowly destroying his body step by step? And what if the Green Lantern Corps has been wiped out, leaving the last ring in the hands of an untrained human, stranded right in the middle of a cosmic war? I'll be answering all these questions and giving full breakdowns for each of these characters in their own dedicated standalone videos.
The Absolute Universe isn't just another comic run. It's a brutal, epic, and fresh statement from DC, showing that a real hero isn't someone who has everything, it's someone who has nothing, but still fights to their very last drop of blood. Thanks a lot for hanging out with Comic Station all the way through. Definitely let me know in the comments which absolute change was your absolute favorite. Axe-wielding Batman, Minor Superman, or Hell-forged Wonder Woman? And be sure to tell me which character from this universe you want me to cover next. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and until the next videos and darker breakdowns, take care and stay awesome.